These are 5 things you must know about your decision maker. If you work in IT consulting, if you sell services to companies, if you are a company with software engineers, DevOps, designers, no matter what you are, if you're in that space and you work with enterprise clients, these are the 5 things you need to know about your decision maker. Why decision maker means so much is because when you think, or when you say that you have a relationship with a company, what you really mean is that you have a relationship with a person or a couple of people, but one at a time, right? So most of the IT consulting companies will have a relationship with a CTO or CIO or director of IT, VP of engineering, whatever. That is a person. And if you don't have a relationship with that person outside of what you do for them as a company, that's a problem. Here are the 5 things you need to know about your decision maker on the company's side. First one is, do they have kids? If you have kids and they have kids, that's perfect, because kids are like that glue that glues everything together, especially the beginning of the conversation or somewhere in the middle, doesn't matter. It's the most important thing in life. If when you're a parent, you realize that, right? So if it's that important to you, you may as well guarantee that that's as important to them. So do they have kids? If they have kids, then you talk about kids, but not just talk about kids. You need to know your decision makers' kids' names, their hobbies, where they go to college, all the stuff that helps you understand the context of how your decision maker lives, right? What kind of life your decision maker lives, what kind of problems your decision maker faces every day on the personal and on the professional level. But what we're trying to achieve in general here is the bond, right? Not for the business purposes. No, it's not used for that. It is used to really genuinely understand your prospect, genuinely understand your decision maker and your partner, because you are partners. When you work together already, you are partners. It is so bizarre to me that so many vendors, according to the CTOs and CIOs that we work with, do not even do the minimum. They don't even invite decision makers for dinner. Are you serious? The second thing is steak or fish. So yes, business happens in the office, relationships at dinner. This is very, very strange to a lot of vendors, but it is very, very important and logical. You need to know what kind of decision maker is in front of you. Maybe it's a vegetarian and you invite that person to a steakhouse. Wrong. Maybe it's a steak lover and you invite that person to an oyster bar and they hate oysters, right? So food preference is actually one of the most important things. And if your food preferences match, that's great. Notice how we're not even touching on any professional stuff at all, because again, if you're building a professional relationship with a person, you have to start with the person, not the profession, not the work, not all of this. All of that stuff needs to be dandy. It needs to be great by default. These things are to make sure that your relationship grows, that it evolves. So kids, now fish or steak, right? Food preferences, even with food preferences, like even with meat eaters, steak lovers, absolutely different breeds. Like a medium filet mignon guy would be so different from the ribeye, bone-in ribeye guy who likes the fat meat and maybe like takes 2 glasses of red wine with it. And then maybe, wants a dessert, and then the filet mignon guy, would have an appetizer that the other guy would not have. So even like picking the place, picking the restaurant is really important, because again, that's where you are going to talk about the most important stuff, your relationship. And that's where you're really developing it. As far as drinks go, you just order whatever they order. It doesn't matter. Like typically when you're in the enterprise niche, whatever your enterprise client orders, it's all good. All right, now we're getting into the professional territory. Sort of. Actually, it's politics. It's not even professional territory. You need to understand what's happening in the company, obviously. You're working with one person or 2 people. Your team maybe works with their engineering team, but all this politics is happening on the top layer. If you're not aware of it, you're putting yourself in super unfavorable position, in dangerous position, right? When your decision maker leaves or quits or get fired, doesn't matter. If you are his or her vendor and the new guy comes in, or gal, right, with their own vendor, because that's the typical scenario, you're screwed. Your business is gone, millions of dollars down the drain. So in order for you to prevent that, you always need to know three things. Know who influences who inside the company so that you would not be caught off guard. If your CTO or CIO starts talking about a toxic CSO who's, pushing some third-party solutions or like other vendors, that's, a red flag. That's kind of the bell that's ringing, and you need to know what to do in that situation. You need to find your ways to figure out how to smooth the situation out for you and for your decision maker. Or if the threat is imminent, then, well, you will have time to prepare. The second thing is stay ahead of any leadership changes. So again, if you know of your CTO's departure in 3 months, well, get ready. Make sure that you're either staying with the company or you're repositioning your resources in a different way. But never be like, so it's time to re-sign our SOW, like our statement of work for next year. What would you like to have in the SOW? Well, guys, actually, we decided to cut our ties with you and we're no longer working with you next year. What do you mean? Our SOW is due in like 12 days. When did you want to tell us this? Sorry, like we completely forgot. You don't want that situation. And that situation happened so many times with other vendors because they don't really care, I guess, or they thought that once they're in forever. But that's the thing. If you don't have a relationship with your decision maker, then, well, they don't have a relationship with you. And if they don't have a relationship with you, then they don't care. If you don't care, they don't care, right? Simple. And the third one is never bet your entire relationship on one person. Again, that's kind of tricky because obviously you have one decision maker or two that you're really close with, but also be aware of other people who are in the company who could maybe be promoted, get promoted, or who could be of help, signaling about the threat maybe ahead of time, stuff like that. So you need to have, you as vendor, like you're in really vulnerable position all the time, and you need to always be aware of your surroundings. The fourth thing is, what is their time off like? We're talking about hobbies here. We're talking about life that happens outside of the office doors, right? If you're a boring, super nerdy, closed person, your chances of building a great relationship with someone who's outgoing, likes exotic cars, maybe hunts, travels a lot, are very minimal. So always make sure that whoever is the account manager or founder on your side of the business, whoever that person is, that person matches the personality type or hobbies or those personal traits of your decision maker. Because otherwise you're going to have this mismatch. And when you have a mismatch, it just never works because it feels like two people are speaking the same language linguistically, but they're speaking totally different languages life-wise. If your decision maker is telling you about cars and your guy is into something completely different and doesn't know anything about the cars, the conversation will not quite develop the way you thought, right? Or if you start talking about work all the time and the guy says like, we can talk about work in the office. Now, what kind of person are you? What are you into? What are your hobbies? What do you like doing? If they start asking you questions, right? And the only thing your guy can come back with is saying things like, well, I mean, I try to work all the time. We're just growing the company and that's all I do. It's quite boring. To them, it's not a conversation starter. It's definitely not a very interesting topic for them because, well, they're already working with your company. So hearing more about your company, unless you're really exciting to listen to, I mean, it might not be the best choice. So always know what their life outside of the office doors looks like and match that against, well, your people and their interests. Then if you have that match, if you have the link built up, then you're good. The fifth one is actually a funny one because no one really thinks about this, but it is very important to know if your decision maker is a texting or a calling type. We have a couple of clients actually who always call, like they never text. this, business ethics of today's world where you have to text before you call just doesn't apply to them. They don't care. They would just call you any minute, anytime they have a problem or a question, right? Rightfully so. I mean, that's what the phones are for. So they call and you answer. And what's important is that with those people, you always match their style. You never text them back like later saying, hey, can I call you in 5 minutes? You don't do that. You call them just like they call you. Other people, they would email you instead of texting or calling, right? They like to keep everything in the email, like email is their life. That's how they operate. Cool. Just email them back. Don't call them. Don't text them because that would be not normal to them. Match your decision maker's style, communication style. It's very important because it's just like the rule of mirroring, right? When there's a person sitting in front of you and they have their legs crossed, if you do the same and you are not directly in front of them because that's a confrontational pose where you're a little bit on the side, then you are in a better position to build a rapport with that person versus someone who would be confrontationally in front and doing his own thing. So think about those things. Like those are little details, but they all matter. Trust me, they all matter. Like one of our clients, he's British, so he uses mate everywhere, right? If you use mate back, well, that's just a little courtesy, but again, it's all part of your unique code of communication, like one-to-one. It means that you're not universally the same with everyone. You're building your own individual exclusive relationship with that person. So obviously you will have some code words maybe. It's a mistake to treat your decision makers as some faceless, always serious, always business-oriented people in suits who only require you to respond to emails professionally and do your job. They do require that. But apart from that, they also require you to be a human. And that part arguably is more important than the work that you're doing because your work has to be flawless, like I said. But if you are missing out on the personal level, if you're doing some stupid stuff, if you're not matching with your decision maker, then your chances of building and developing that relationship are really, really low. And if that's the case, then the risk for you as an IT consultant working with enterprise, super high. Like you are not irreplaceable. You don't have an actual layer of protection in case something unexpected happens in the company. A bonus, sixth thing that you need to know about your decision maker, must know. You must at all times know exactly what your decision maker wants. This is not about just the general pain, right? Like he wants to transform his enterprise IT into this monolith system. He wants to transition, from that thing to that thing. No, it's about at all times, what the most important, most painful problem your decision maker is facing today. As little as, like DevOps forgot to disable, 2 Amazon instances, and now the CFO is on his ass because obviously they're paying for nothing. Like stuff like that. Because once you actually figure out some of that stuff and you're always aware, then you could be even more helpful, right? If you know about some of that stuff, then you'll be like, hey, we can help you with that. No fuss. Or, hey, I have guys who are willing to work overtime this weekend just to help you solve that problem that we heard about in the meeting, right? That gives you extra credits, but also what it does is that it helps you develop a relationship. And that's the most important part. It's a transaction. You are providing value in the form of your work, but also as a human being, you're there for them. They can count on you. They can rely on your words, and you follow through with your actions. That's valuable. It's great. And everyone wants a partner like that. No one wants a silent partner who just does the job and leaves at 5. Like that's not a partner. That's an employee. That's a contractor. That's a faceless vendor. Don't be a faceless vendor. Always know what your decision maker really needs at any moment, because those extra things, they all matter. All of those things matter, all 6. But this final one, it's very, very important. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, comment and like, and I'll see you again in the next episode of Lead with Tech.